But next up, we want to talk about now the very latest in the Middle East crisis. Tensions with Iran continue. You know, it seemed like last week, going into the weekend, that there could be some military action from the U.S. That didn't happen to be the case, but now we wait and see if this weekend could possibly be another round of waiting to see if that is going to happen. So right now, for more on this, Fox News correspondent Jennifer Griffin joining us here with a breakdown of the talks that are continuing with Iran in this tension.
Well, Mike, those talks are over tonight in Geneva. We've heard from the Oman's foreign minister. He painted the talks as positive. We don't have any word yet from the U.S. delegation what their characterization of the talks with the Iranians would be. They met twice today for about 3 hours. And the Omani foreign minister says that there's an agreement to meet again next week, perhaps even with the IAEA in Vienna. They are meeting from Monday to Wednesday, March 2nd to 4th of next week. We also know that Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is supposed to travel to Israel on Monday, and the Gerald R. Ford Aircraft Carrier Strike Group is supposed to go to Haifa, according to the Jerusalem Post, on Monday. But again, all of this is really the decision-making at this point is still at the White House. President Trump met with his security team today. He has a meeting in about 30 minutes, another private meeting, I think, to hear the results of those talks. The military option is still very much on the table. We've seen the Gerald R. Ford Aircraft Carrier Strike Group leave Suda Bay in Crete today, heading eastward toward Israel. We also have seen more F-22 squadrons moving into the region, the buildup of air refueling tankers, the bridge, the number of F-35s that have been moved into the region. There is a large armada, as the president has said, in the Middle East right now, the largest air and naval set of assets that we've seen in the past 23 years. So right now, very, very tense moments, and a lot weighing on those talks, all eyes on those talks in Geneva and what the U.S. delegation comes back to the White House and tells them occurred during those talks, and whether the president will have the patience to wait another few days or another week while they continue these negotiations, or whether he feels that the Iranians are stringing him along.
Yeah, we'll wait and see if that patience continues to wear a little bit thin for President Trump. What have you been hearing as what this strike could look like if so the president decides to do that? I mean, would we see a more elaborate strike than we did last summer when the situation happened there in Iran?
I think you would. I mean, what we saw last summer, remember, was 12 days where the Israelis basically took out the air defenses and cleared the way for the U.S. to then come in those final 2 days and strike Iran's nuclear facilities, basically 3 sites, very targeted strikes using the B-2 bombers and other aircraft and warplanes. But those 3 sites, what's notable is that they are still part of these negotiations. So last summer we were told that they were completely obliterated. Well, it seems not quite so obliterated, because there is concerns that the U.S. and the IAEA and Israel don't know where the highly enriched uranium were that the Iranians had, that they believed were buried deep into those mountainsides and crushed by those bombs. But it is not clear at this point whether the Iranians may have moved some of that highly enriched uranium. There's about 400 kilograms of the highly enriched uranium that's unaccounted for. So I think you would likely see a return to striking those 3 sites. The problem with Isfahan, for instance, is that the tunnels there go deep into a mountain, and even the strongest GBU-47, the bunker buster bombs that are dropped by the B-2s, they cannot reach into those tunnels. And it is clear that the Iranians have returned to those sites in the last 6 months, 9 months, and they have been boring into those tunnels, and there are other nuclear sites that could be targeted. And then you also, given the buildup and what we're seeing, it's hard to imagine that the U.S. and Israel would not also strike at IRGC targets, particularly in the wake of the president's warning that help is on its way, following the brutal crackdown on the protesters that led to, some say, 32,000 Iranians dead in December and January. So we've heard very mixed messages from the White House, from the president, from from the Secretary of State and the Vice President in the last 2 days. At first, we were told that these talks were only going to focus on the nuclear program, Iran's nuclear program. But then we heard Marco Rubio yesterday talking about Iran's ballistic missiles. That's something that Israel has been concerned about. And then you heard Steve Witkoff, one of the key negotiators for the U.S., talk about how Iran could get a bomb within a week. Many people think he may have been exaggerating or misrepresenting or may have misspoken about how quickly Iran could actually get a bomb. But certainly the concern is that the Iranians have not given up their nuclear ambitions. They don't know where the highly enriched uranium is, and they need access to those sites in order to be sure that the Iranians do not get a nuclear weapon.
Any way you look at it, very tense stuff that is going on right now as these talks do continue. Jennifer, thanks so much for giving us the updates. We always appreciate it here on Live Now.
Thank you, Mike.